And here's another example. We're going to talk about composition of functions and inverses. And this particular time, we're given a table, time years in years, and then distance in thousands of kilometers. And then we're also given a graph where we have thousands of kilometers for D and the value of dollars V. And so the stem says the V, the value of Mike's car after it has been driven D 1,000 kilometers, is shown on the graph graph below. The distance Mike's car has been driven T years after it was purchased is shown in the table. We want to estimate and interpret this particular value here. Give it a try before I actually do it. Well, what this actually means is V of D of T. So if I look at 4 here, it gives me 120. And that is 1,000. So V at 120. And if I look at my graph here, 120 produces a value here. There's 4 here, so that's going to be about 5250. About 5250, and this is dollars. This is the value. So what this says is after 4 years, okay, interpret is after 4 years, the value is 5250, the car is worth. That's what that means here. And we're using different representations of functions, the table and the graph. Estimate, interpret now V of D to inverse. Well, this one gets a little bit tricky. We have to think about what does this value actually mean? Well, if I consider V of D of T was the initial function, and T is years, and V is dollars. So if I'm doing the inverse, this here is the actual dollars. And I'm asked to find what is T. It's asking for it backwards. So if I use $2,000, if I consider my $2,000, which is here, well, that is going to give me a value of 200. That gives me a value here of 200. 200 gives me a value of T. So this equals 12 years. And so when the value is $2,000 for the car, it's about 12 years old. 12 years old. Now the reason why it says estimate all the time is because when we use the table, when we use the graph, we can get a pretty accurate value, but we don't know precisely what it is. So there's the estimating aspect. And then finally it says estimate, interpret V of D of T equals 0. Well, if we think about what does this actually mean, this means when is the value equal to the 0? Well, it's going to be equal to 0 here when it's 2,450. So that's when the value is 0, and that happens. So the car is worth $0 at 17 years. Okay, and so it is worthless. So using the table and the graph, we can also interpret these values, and we have to be able to work with tables, graphs, and equations.